Look at Nadal's left arm. Then look at his right. Same person, same diet, same training. One arm looks like it belongs to someone who lifts for fun. The other looks like it belongs to someone who watches. Studies on professional tennis players found the bones in their racket arm are 20% thicker and contain significantly more bone mineral than the other side. Not muscle, bones. The skeleton itself rebuilt around one activity repeated thousands of times until the two sides of the same body became genuinely different structures. That adaptation is impressive. What it does to your spine, your shoulder, and your lower back over time is considerably less impressive. 3 exercises. Let's balance it out. Here's what nobody tells you about that imbalance. It doesn't stay in the arm. Your dominant lat pulls your spine toward one side. Your dominant shoulder sits higher than the other. Your lower back rotates slightly every single time you serve because one side of your core is stronger than the other, and it has been for years. The shoulder that aches, the lower back that tightens, the hip that never quite loosens up. All of it connects back to the same thing. One side of your body has been going to the gym every single day for years, while the other side watched from the car. This exercise is where that stops. Anchor one knee on a bench, pick up a dumbbell in your non-dominant hand, and row it up to your hip, driving your elbow high. Squeeze your shoulder blade hard at the top, hold 1 second, then lower it back down over 3 full seconds. 12 reps, 4 sets, non-dominant side only. Do not touch the other side. That arm has been training since the first time you picked up a racket, and it absolutely does not need your sympathy. The 3-second lowering is not optional. That controlled eccentric is what forces the adaptation in a muscle that has spent years being the weaker side. It will feel strange because your non-dominant lat has almost no reference point for this load. Strange means it's working. 4 weeks of this, and the shoulder that always sat higher starts to come down. You will notice it before anyone else does, and then you will immediately tell everyone anyway. Your dominant shoulder has been pressing and rotating under load across thousands of serves and overheads for however long you've been playing. Your non-dominant shoulder has been doing almost nothing overhead in that same time. Not a little less, almost nothing. And here's what that means structurally. When muscles are worked hard, satellite cells activate, divide, and fuse with the muscle fiber itself, adding nuclei that allow the fiber to build more contractile tissue and grow larger. This process happens exclusively on the side being loaded. Your non-dominant shoulder has essentially been running the same software since you were a beginner. Untouched, unbothered, completely unaware that tennis was even happening. Anchor a barbell in a corner or use a landmine attachment. Non-dominant foot forward. Hold the end of the bar at a shoulder height with your non-dominant hand and press it diagonally upward until your arm is fully extended overhead. Then bring it back down with control. 12 reps, 3 sets, non-dominant arm only. The diagonal angle matters because it replicates the overhead movement pattern of a serve without loading the same rotational asymmetry that caused the problem in the first place. The first session will feel genuinely unstable because that shoulder has no strength reference for this position. That instability is the gap between your two sides making itself visible. Every rep closes it slightly. Every session closes it more. Both previous exercises target the upper body imbalance. This one goes after the thing that's been quietly causing the most damage, your core. Every ground stroke, every serve, every overhead loads the same rotational pattern on the same side. Your dominant obliques are considerably stronger than your non-dominant ones, and your deep spinal stabilizers have adapted to compensate for that difference on every single explosive movement you make on court. Over years, that small compensation becomes the chronic lower back tightness that you've accepted as just part of playing tennis. It isn't. It's the bill for an imbalance that was never addressed. Pick up a heavy dumbbell or kettlebell in your non-dominant hand only. Stand tall and walk 30 meters without letting your torso lean toward the weight. Set it down, rest 30 seconds, go again. 5 rounds. This will feel straightforward for approximately 4 steps before your torso starts drifting toward the weight, like it's being pulled by a small but very persistent gravity. That drift is your core asymmetry introducing itself. The whole exercise is resisting that drift for 30 meters at a time. Your non-dominant obliques, your deep spinal stabilizers, your shoulder, your grip, all firing simultaneously to keep you upright under unilateral load. That coordinated strength is exactly what your dominant side has been building through years of tennis. Your non-dominant side is about to catch up. 2 sessions a week, and the lower back tightness that's stretching never fully fixed starts to actually improve because you're finally addressing the cause instead of the symptom. 3 exercises. Rows to close the lat gap, pulling your spine sideways. Landmine press to build the overhead strength your non-dominant shoulder has never once been asked for. Farmer's carry to build the core stability that stops the asymmetry from living permanently in your lower back. The jacked arm is staying. 20 years of skeletal adaptation isn't reversing because you did some rows, but the chain of compensations it creates when nothing on the other side is strong enough to balance it, that part is entirely fixable. Federer had that arm. Nadal has it. You have it. What separates the players who stay on court for decades from the ones who slowly fall apart is what they did about it. Now you know what to do.